pre-match press conference with Massimiliano Allegri and Danilo. So as usual, please introduce yourself, and let's start with the questions for Danilo. JTV first. Hello, Dani. Enrico Zambroni, Juventus TV. So what about the spirit that Juventus needs tomorrow to play against Benfica, being aware of the fact that it's going to be a very tough game? Well, tomorrow we need to play with the spirit that we need to win the match. Well, obviously, when we say win, it means that in 5 minutes we'll have to win it. Well, obviously, it will last 90, 95, sometimes 100 minutes. And so we know very well that we must be balanced. We must be very smart and intelligent. But the spirit is the one that basically at 9 p.m. when we start the game, we just need to focus on the fact that we need to win. Sport Albanese, Sport Italia, well, you are one of the leaders of this group. So what about your condition in your growth? And what about the new players? Have they integrated yet? And what do you miss in order to make a difference, in order to reach the right level to make a difference? Well, certainly we're missing something, because otherwise we would have been able to win all the last matches. And unfortunately, it has not been like that. But we are in a moment where we definitely know that we need to improve and we can still grow. But at the same time, we also know that we are aware of the fact that there isn't so much time, so we can't just wait for 1 month or 2 months to learn something more. So as I pointed out before, we already need to learn from tomorrow, from the next match. So we can't really waste any time, and we can't just concede goals as we did against Salernitana. And at this level, is particularly difficult to recover, especially because Benfica is a great side with the top players, so we can't really make any mistakes at all. Hello, Danilo Romeo Gresti. I would like to ask you, so do you think that your career has been leading you to be a midfielder, to play in a central position? Well, for sure, yes. Well, you know, I've often played, you know, in that position, right in the middle of the field. So I really have lots of fun. I really enjoy to play in a central position more than in other positions. So basically, I like to possess the ball all the time. I can see also the field, the pitch from a different perspective. So I definitely like that position. Then, of course, it's up to the coach to tell me where I need to play. Hello. Danilo, Giorgio Musso, calciomercato.it. Well, I would like to ask you whether tomorrow match is going to be fundamental in order to qualify, and what do you expect from Benfica? Can you just repeat the last part? So what do you fear the most? Well, certainly it's going to be a decisive match, just like all the others, but tomorrow is going to have a different importance because we didn't win the first match, and so we know very well that tomorrow, if we don't win, well, that won't be particularly good for us. So that's why it is pretty crucial, and we'll have to feel all the responsibility and be very committed, but without too much pressure. As I said before, I would say that one of the secrets of football, and of these games in particular, is to try and seize the right opportunities. It's going to be an important moment, a very nice Champions League night. So we do expect all our supporters and the fans to be here and to support us. And obviously, we have great responsibility, but at the same time, we really want to seize the opportunity of this particular night. Della Valla, Gazzetta dello Sport. Well, Bonucci, after playing against Salernitana, talked about the mentality, the mindset, and the fact that you needed to find again the Juventus DNA. So as you are one of the senators, so did you have the chance maybe to talk to him, and what did you focus on particular? Well, what Bonucci just pointed out is something that we all agree with, and we know that we need to make progress and to take further steps ahead in terms of our mindset and what we do throughout the whole match. And so I don't think that it was particularly polemical. Of course, it was absolutely very objective. And we often speak about these things, not only on that match, but also about the other matches, because also just in this way, we can really become a strong team, and we can really make progress and take further steps ahead, and therefore win as Juventus deserves. Good afternoon. So what do you think about the Benfica players? Well, Benfica is certainly a great side. May I reply in Portuguese? Yes? So, as I was saying, Benfica certainly is a great team with an amazing history. I have great respect for this team. They have had great players, and in this squad there is João Malo, Rafael Silva that have great qualities indeed. So experienced players like Otamendi that certainly has a great background and reputation in football, and also the coach has managed to transmit and convey his ideas to the players very quickly. So tomorrow we'll have to guarantee a top performance in order to win this match. We have enough experience because we played against Portuguese teams in the past, and so we can't underestimate tomorrow's match. So, in your opinion, where can Juventus have more margins of growth? Well, from an athletical, physical point of view, I don't think so. I would say that we never give up, so we try all the time to win, even if sometimes we might get a little lower than the level that certain matches require us. But from a mental point of view, instead, there is still room for improvement because the top players and the champions are those that are very strong from a mental point of view. So we need to have the same mindset all the time. And then, in my opinion, football is so rich that we definitely need to improve from a tactical point of view. So we need to improve how we move on the pitch, so how we play the ball, so how we receive the ball, all the ball passes. So inside the team, we all know about these things, and so this is the right track. Gianluca Danilo La Stampa, hello. Well, I would like to ask you if there is an explanation about the fact that Juventus doesn't really manage to guarantee a continuity, so to guarantee this constant performance for 90 minutes. Why? Well, it's very difficult to answer such a question, but as I've already said, I believe that that's something that we need to improve, that is to take a further step ahead, especially from a mental point of view. As already pointed out, the winning teams and the champions are those that manage to be linear all the time, and these can definitely approach us and make us get closer to wins. So this is exactly what we need to have, a very linear mindset. So basically we must be able to address and to face matches always at the same time. And so this will certainly help us take this further step ahead, as I pointed out before. Hello, Alessandra da Giorara Sport. So you have just mentioned the spirit and what you need to learn. So what about your spirit? So after playing against Salernitana, and what have you learned from the match in Paris? Well, the right spirit, the right responsibility for such an important a match like that of tomorrow's. And then, as far as Paris is concerned, especially the second half, taught us something very important, that is that we need to believe until the very end. We need to be more confident, to believe in our work and the things that we prepare, because, of course, PSG is a great team. We can also obtain great things indeed. Hello, Danilo, Manuele Gamba, Repubblica. Well, I would like to ask you, as you know Portuguese football very well, so why the Portuguese teams often create difficulties for the Italian teams? Why is that? And sorry, just allow me to finish. So as Benfica is a team that plays a very high rhythm, so do you think that this might be a problem for you, as you do not always, or are not always able to cope with this rhythm? Well, not just the Portuguese, but also the Italian ones. And then actually the Portuguese teams really create lots of difficulties also for teams coming from other countries, because they're really used to playing the Champions League games. And moreover, they have great intensity and will be doing the same as well. Thank you very much. Thank you, Danilo. Now we can move to the questions for Mr. Massimiliano Allegri. Enrico Zambroni, Juventus TV. Good afternoon. So what about the team? Do you think you will be able to recover some of the injured players? Well, we have recovered Di Maria. I don't know whether we'll be lined up from the very beginning or not, because it's been training a little bit with the team. Then Chesney will be completing also the training, so will be available, but I will know that only after this press conference. Alexandro, so after the penalty on Sunday, had a problem, physical problem, so we'll see whether we'll be able to be available for the match against Monza, and then Rabiot and Locatelli will be out. So we have these players that are out while we have recovered Di Maria. Good afternoon. You're SIG Portuguese TV. You have already played against other Portuguese teams like Porto and so Sporting Lisbon. So what about Benfica? What about your impression and opinion? Well, Benfica as a club certainly has a remarkable European history. They're really used to playing these kind of matches. They are made up of great players, and this is a side with a German coach that has given to the players great determination and aggressiveness. Well, tomorrow is not going to be a crucial match, but certainly very important. So in order to obtain a positive result, that is to win, we definitely need to guarantee a performance that will be based on a team play. So we'll have to be extremely solid and basically be focused all the time, because otherwise you might pay the toll for not being enough concentrated. Good afternoon. Well, I would like to ask you whether the fact that you were sent off last Sunday, maybe you could also use Milik together with Alexandro. Well, I will have to evaluate that because I have some doubts about the midfield. So tomorrow morning, basically, I will decide what I need to do. But we are quite well. We have been recovering our energies for tomorrow's match, for sure. Good afternoon, Giovanni Albanese, Sport Italia. What I would like to seize the opportunity as Danilo was here. So what about the defense with 3 players? Do you think that could be a good idea for tomorrow, but also a solution for the whole season? Well, it depends on the features, on the characteristics of the single players. In this very moment, according to the match, we can have a defense based on 3 players, and according to the match, we might have 4 defenders. In Paris, we started one way and then we ended in a different way, and then last Sunday we also started in a way and then basically ended up in a completely different way. So it also depends on the evolution of the matches, how the opponent defend themselves. So it's not really a matter of figures, whether it is a 3 or another number, but what really matters is that we need to be able to move properly and to search for the right spaces. Good afternoon, Sergio Bardini, Tutto Sport. Well, apart from the matches against Sampdoria and Paris Saint-Germain, well, in my opinion, Juventus has been doing quite well, especially you played well the very first 20 minutes, including the match against Salernitana. And then after a while, you just, turn off the engine to a certain extent. So do you think that there is a problem in keeping the concentration, maybe any difficulties in adapting to the match when something changes compared to what you initially prepared? So what do you think that has gone wrong? Well, something that we have discussed, we need to find the balance. Basically, the balance can be found that when you can't really find the right moment, as it happened last night, and when you can't score the goal, and obviously you can't concede any goals either. And it's not a shame whether the first half ends 0-0, but what really matters is that in that moment you can't concede any goals. So we also conceded goals at the end of the first half. So in these specific moments, the team will have to be extremely concentrated and not get anxious or nervous just because they conceded a goal, maybe because the opponent will prevail, and that's something that might happen because, of course, these matches are very long, and when you score a goal, all the best. But when you can't score a goal, well, this doesn't mean that you should concede goals. So that's why we need to find a balance, just like when we score a goal first and we need to keep on playing properly. Well, sometimes in the past, in those matches where we scored first, we then stopped after a while. Fabiana Della Valle, Gazzetta dello Sport. Well, so what about the doubts for tomorrow? Well, with Alexandro out, I have Quadrado and Sciglio that could be played on the external flanks, and then also Danilo that could be playing in a central position, could be play in the midfield. Well, thanks God I have him, of course. So you talked about the fact that sometimes your players get a little nervous, and you talked about the certain agitation. So what's your explanation? Well, let's consider the positive thing, the fact that sometimes we are over-enthusiastic, but we should not really do excessively. We should just do, because matches are really very long, and so we shouldn't really exaggerate in what we want to do, because obviously this is due to the fact that we are really extremely willing and determined to win the matches, so we want to do all the best, of course, but that's not what football requires. Sometimes you might try and do something excessive, but you have to be balanced at the same time. So we need to find the right balance. So we have to consider that we have to play for 95 minutes. So we have these 95 minutes to win the match. So these should just calm us down, because when we score a goal, we should be always very focused. So that's why our strength should be based on these confidence and balance. And I believe that it also depends on the situation, on the environment where we play, because sometimes we lose our patience, when instead we should do the opposite, because winning matches is difficult, and sometimes you might win the match when it's the 92nd minute of a game. These things might happen, but in those moments we need to play as a team, very solid. Hello, Mr. Giorgio Musso. Well, I would like to ask you, what about Vlahovic, and what do you think he still needs to improve on the pitch? Well, as to Vlahovic, I think that he has improved a lot, especially in the aspects that he needed to improve, and I'm really happy with what Dusan has been doing so far. As I said before, Dusan is one of the youngest players with less experience at an international level, and with Mbappe, I would say that is definitely one of the best ones that you can find. Well, going back to the fact that your players sometimes are a little nervous and anxious, but they are experienced players, and so they should be able to manage these type of matches and situations. Well, we certainly have the experience. Many of our players have this type of experience, but at the same time, there are other players that have not been playing in the Champions League very often, and that have not been playing in the Italian League very often, so they have less experience from this point of view. Then playing at Juventus is not easy at all, because all the players are always under pressure. Obviously, we want to win all the time, so we are obviously pushed from the outside, but obviously these are aspects that we need to consider. Bremer basically he will be playing his second match in the Champions League, if I'm not wrong, and so is an extraordinary signing for the club, of course, but in terms of experience, basically he is going to play his second match in the Champions League, so certainly he has to deal with some psychological pressure. So we have been working very well, and of course we would like to have a different situation in the Italian League as well, because we have lost some points. I'm really sorry for that, but we have time to recover. But then as to tomorrow's match, it's going to be a difficult and complicated match, and we need to be focused on that. I would like to ask you, what do you really need tomorrow in order to do what it takes without exaggerating? Well, everyone will have to play their own part, basically. So you're not asked to score 3 goals each. So basically, every single player will have to help the team with very simple things without exaggerating, because sometimes when you exaggerate, you might do something additional, but that could also be detrimental. It could could be negative. So what really matters is that the all players will play as a team, also when you need to tackle difficulties, because basically throughout a career, luckily, I've had the chance, and I hope also in the future, I have the chance to deal with the difficult moments. But these things happen, of course. It's not that you always, win matches 3-0. So sometimes you manage to score goals also at last. And so these are the things that needs to be improved. Good afternoon, Marco Conteri, Tutto Mercato Web. So, in a very lucid way, considering what happened at the end in the match against Salernitana, so are you happy with the response by the Association of the Referees? What about the criticism, the polemic reactions? So what about your opinion on that? Well, I've never expressed any judgments on the referees. And it's not up to me to express my opinion on that. So basically, I closed that chapter on Sunday. I don't know whether I will be able to take part in the match next Sunday, whether... Well, actually, rather than being sent off, it would be better maybe to pay a fine for the coaches so that we can also, help a charity. But I would like to be on the pitch. So I would say that this is something that should be taken into consideration. That could be food for thought, in my opinion. So we could also, raise funds basically just linked with all the bad behaviors that we might have during the whole season. Last question, please. Hello, Max. Good afternoon. Corriere della Sera. Well, with reference to these, it seems that the coaches, lots of coaches have been sent off. It's just the sixth match day. But so what about your opinion on this? Also, Sarri and Gianpaolo, that also insulted the referee. So there have been many different situations like this. So what do you think is that maybe the coaches are a little too nervous? Maybe it's the fact that there is a little instability. Yeah, or maybe it's just the hot weather. Well, yes, that's right. Maybe it's a little too hot. But I can just talk about myself, of course. Last Sunday, I certainly had a very negative reaction. Well, it was the 93rd minute of a game, and of course, I was very sorry about that. So rather than being sent off and disqualified, I would have rather appreciated to be asked to pay a fine instead. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.